When you were running around Vegas, you had Elvis. I think Tom Jones was around there as well.
We met at the Riviera one night, and I commented on his cufflinks, and he went, "Here, you have these."
Wow.
Oh, yes. Well, Aquaman, one of my favorite superheroes.
Oh, you mean the Snoop Dogg party?
Yeah, Snoop Dogg, yeah.
There's necessarily a reality above just the material reality.
Home protection.
Bow and arrow. I don't know.
Our nation is incredibly strong, but it can easily be brought down from within.
I think we all have a calling to a higher purpose.
Hey everyone, welcome to my very first AMA. I put a little note down below, type your questions, go for the worst ones first. But let's have some fun. Hopefully you've brought some tacos, maybe even some tequila. Let's have some fun. I brought the mighty Coke Zero. This is about as wild as I can get. On a good night, I'll go to a place and they've got some grenadine. I've heard that the grenadine actually isn't cherry grenadine, although we always ask for cherry grenadine. It's always a pomegranate or something a little bit more sophisticated than a cherry. But nonetheless, I've got a Coke Zero. This will be my lunch for right now. But I'm looking forward to our time together. Let's have some fun. Bring your questions. I'm just monitoring to make sure that we have streams going on all the different platforms. But looking forward to our time today. I've got a little bit of an extra little toy for you guys today. I have a second angle. On the second angle, you see this glass top in front of me. I've got some funness, some goodness here in case you've got questions that require a little bit more explanation. I've got some markers. Now you'll see these markers emerge on a forthcoming series that I'll begin releasing next week. That'll go through some habit hacks, some life tools, and this will be a fun time together. But hopefully we'll get a chance to premiere this today and be able to spend some time together today. But thanks so much for joining me. I see the questions coming in. It's really great. You never know who's going to show up because, like on Facebook, for instance, there were like 6 people that said yes, and there were like over 200 that said I'm interested, but I may or may not come. So a lot of non-commitment, uncommittal here, but looking forward to our time together. For those of you that do not know me, have not seen me around, my name is Rick Walker, and I'm super excited that you're here. I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm a businessman. I'm also someone that likes to talk about big ideas and simplify big ideas where I can. And so we're going to spend some time today here doing that. Many of you know Nev, who's been my kind of podcast producer, and she's produced all the live stuff we've done over the years. She is not able to join us today, so I'm producing my own show, but it's going to be fun. We've got some people here. It looks like people are starting to trickle in. It's going to be fun today. And you may have heard about this upcoming project that I've got called 9 Steps to Build a Life of Meaning. This is a process. This is a mechanism for thinking. Dr. Ben Carson, former Secretary of HUD, and probably one of the smartest men alive. He's got 60 honorary doctorates. He was the first man to separate conjoined twins, called this work triumphantly hopeful, triumphantly hopeful. So that's how I would hope that you would leave today, our time together, in a hopeful state. So help me be a purveyor of hope by asking your questions. I see those coming in here. I see all those great comments. Looking forward to your book. What are some tips for dealing with, let's see, passive aggressive people in relationships? Oh my. We're starting right off with a bang here. Passive aggression. Remember in the Bible, Christ talks about the wolf in sheep's clothing. The wolf in sheep's clothing. This is the person that is the most unholy of the begetters that you read about in Dante. He's not necessarily next to Satan in hell in Dante's Inferno, but he's awfully close. So we've got this mechanism by which someone has this aggressiveness and they cloak it in passivity. Now the problem with that is because the person's nature, their very being, is a lie in itself because they're not forthcoming about who they are. Look, I'm going to be honest with you about me. I'm aggressive sometimes. I can be very aggressive. Those of you that know me in real life, off the screen, I'm a little bit of an aggressive person. But I'm never going to lie to you, say, hey, I'm not aggressive. I'm a very passive person. That's just not who I am. But the passive aggressive person is always the person that cloaks what they have. And what you have to do is uncover. You have to unravel that sheep clothing that's on that wolf and be able to help them see that you realize what they're doing, the game that they're playing. And the passive aggressive person is also always the weak person. This is now how you notice these people when you first meet them. this is the couple, if they're married, this is the couple with the strong wife, the loud wife, and the quiet husband who obeys his wife. This is the man who's never fully matured, and the woman who's taken advantage of that. And so you'll see this. Now, this is not an affront to women or to men anywhere, but you will recognize that as you're sort of out in society and you see these sorts of conversations. So how do you do that? How do you address these people? So first off, you've got to point out what they are doing and what they're lying about. So if you kind of think about this and in the business of being a propagator of lies, aka the passive aggressive person, they will find these exceptions. They will live in the gray. They will live in the exceptions. They will live on the nuance instead of in reality. This is how they begin to lose the relationships. Okay, so we've got. Okay, am I back? I know we lost some sound here. We lost some sound here. Hopefully, we've got back here. Thanks, General. The general is in the house. General Griswold Grimm, great to see you here. And you can watch me in color. Yes, you can watch me in color. Love it. Love it. Hey, Kim, great question. Pedron, 1964 fan. Love it. Great question. Chad, lost the audio. Hopefully we're back now. Can you hear me now? Can someone give me a thumbs up? Let me know. Let me know if you hear me. Okay. Can you hear me? New comments. Okay, sounds good. Yes. Top down loses audio. Okay, thanks, Grizz. Appreciate you, man. Grizz is a professional live podcaster, so he's gonna call it as he sees them. But let me erase this here. But hopefully, it gives you the first 3 steps where we're calling them out, where we're noticing that they're lying, and then we're asking for the exceptions. So the more exceptions they have, the more explaining they do. And this is why lies are no way to live, because you have to burn up a ton of mental RAM to come up with the exceptions about why you act in one way or another. So, hey, great, Josh, good to see you, man. Grizz, Chad, Kim, good to see you guys. Appreciate you. But yeah, this AMA, I've never done one before again, and this is not about me. This is about you. So please, bring your questions. I've got some content that I can present in the meantime while we're waiting for questions, or and I've got 3 questions that were queued up before from the newsletter guys that I just replied. But I want you today just to sort of bring your doubts, bring your big questions, realize that I'm not a guru. I'm just a regular person, and we're just 2 people in a room comparing notes. That's just all we are, just 2 students in the same classroom comparing notes of what we found, what does and doesn't work. And I've made plenty of failures. But I've heard that life is just a string of failures with occasional moment of perfection. Life is just a string of failures with the occasional moment of perfection. And so today I want to make sure I leave you with something that will lead you to one of those moments of perfection. And so now we're live. Hopefully you brought your lunch. Hopefully you've got your tequila. Those of you that have just joined us, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a great time together. Because if you're a man or a woman who wants more out of life, I hope that this hour will not only be fun, but I hope it'll help to put you on the path of changing everything that you want. So a couple of ground rules I was told to ask. Number one, I want to set the tone. I want this to be an honest, a raw and respectful time together. So I'm going to give you all of the, I'm going to give you all the tools that you need to get through the things we talk about today, or I'm going to give you a source to be able to go do some deep dive here. But I'm going to try to answer questions as quickly as possible, so to get as many as possible. Hey, Grizz, with the call out, what angle of approach? So are you talking about? Can you give me some clarification on that? On the call out, when I call out that they're lying, what is the angle of approach? Is that your question? Just let me know, and then we'll get back to that. So I'm going to spend about an hour and a half with you today. I've got the kiddos. Of course, the school lets you know the day before that it's early release. Today's last day of school, so the kids are excited about that. But I want you to just feel free to ask anything. No questions are off limits. And then I want to give you a sort of a 60-second overview of the project. The project is 9 Steps to Build a Life of Meaning. This is a process of how to unlock your mind, happiness, power, and even your enemies' demise, because we all have those enemies that we've got to defeat in our lives, those manifest evils, those problems that just irk us, those problems that break our hearts. And so we've got to figure out a way to defeat those enemies in our lives. And so what I've done is I spent about 25 years in work. I've scaled some international organizations into 50 plus countries, thousands of employees, scaled my own businesses, one from 0 to 400 employees when I was 26, another one into 6 states. And so I've done some stuff. I haven't been successful all the time. I've had some issues. I've been defeated on national news when I ran for Congress. I've had my home just sort of destroyed by a flood a number of years ago. I've had some issues in my personal life. So I'm an open book, but I want to make sure that you feel that you're getting your value for today. But so this is why I wrote this process, 9 Steps to Build a Life of Meaning. This is some of the tools that I'm going to share. I've got a number of other tools that are on my website. And I'm happy to get into wherever you want to go today. All right, here's Grizz's reply here. He said, with the called out, what angle of approach? Yeah, when you bring out the passive aggressive behavior, the tone or tact you use to do it. Yeah. So the thing I found that has worked the best is you want to create maximum awkwardness in the situation. You want to do this for one of two reasons. And I actually wrote a blog article about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and if the newsletter subscribers may have seen this as well. But it was a different tactic, but it's same tactic but different scenario. But the beauty of awkwardness, beauty of unease, is that unease and unawkwardness in a two-party communication never dissipates. It never dissipates. It always accrues either 50-50 or entirely to one other person. And it's the person that can handle the unease and the unawkwardness the worst that always absorbs it. And so let me give you an example. If I say to this passive aggressive person, listen, what you just told me does not line up with the results. So either you're entirely incompetent in your strategy, or you're lying to me and being deceptive to me. Which is it? If you say that to someone, first of all, you got to have, as we say in South Texas, you got to have the cojones. You got to be able to stomach saying something like that. But what you will find is the person that puts something like that on the table, you'll find out how well the counterparty handles unease and awkwardness, and they will generally shift. They will shift in their seats and try to figure out a way to handle that, and they will act like it doesn't bother them, or they will be entirely offended. Again, this is getting back to the wolf in sheep's clothing. The sheep, again, the way that you notice sheep in wolf's clothing, this is in a religious environment, is they are always teaching, they are always holier than thou, and you can never criticize them. You can never criticize them because all they've shown you is their sheepness. They've never shown you the aggression, right? If I'm in an environment, I'm going to show you some aggression because that's just who I am. I'm being honest with you. But the sheep, how dare you criticize them? Are you saying you criticize? So this is one of the 2 or 3 responses you'll receive back. And so you've got to really push them back on their heels with this. And you see how they respond. And I found that the best thing to do is just to be quiet after you push them a little bit. So call them out on their lie, call them out on the one or two scenarios. Either you're being deceptive with me right now, or you've just taken a serious strategic blunder to the next step. Which is it? And just absorb the awkwardness, absorb the silence. There's beauty in silence, there's beauty in awkwardness, because it puts your counterparty into a different position. Now, this is dealing with counterparties. These are not enemies. Enemies, we destroy enemies. Counterparties, hey, we're just trying to figure out a way to communicate and be able to get on as best as possible. You don't need to destroy everyone that's across the table from you, everyone that's a passive aggressive person to you. You're just trying to dissipate that unease in the relationship and move on. So hopefully that helps. Grizz, man, thanks so much for that. That was really great. Okay, Chad, a great question. So Chad and I are doing a podcast a little bit later on. I think in the next couple or 3 weeks. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Chad is a very, very successful industrial real estate broker up in Canada, and he's been very, very helpful with me. He just launched his book called Industrial Lies. I bought 3 copies of it on Amazon maybe 3 weeks ago when it first hit the shelves, and I've been very pleased with it. I sat down and read the entire thing in one day. So if you're interested in commercial real estate, potentially as a way to escape your financial conditions, I highly encourage you to check out Chad's book, Industrial Lies. It's on Amazon. Really, really great read. Very, very easy read for those of us that are novices in it. All right. So are you getting any value for the money you're spending on X, or where are you finding good ROI on social media right now? Hey, great question. So here's the way that I prioritize social media. I ran for political office. I guess it's been 8 years now. 8 years now. And I spent some crazy money on social media. I spent 6 figures on social media. In fact, I was told that in one day, we spent $80,000 in one day on social media ads, which is nuts. And I lost, right? It'd be a different thing if I won, but I lost. And so that makes it look even worse. Little like this is time to hit a little bit of the tequila that you have in front of you. Take a bite of your taco. I'm gonna take a drink of the Coke Zero. So on X, it's really interesting because I didn't spend that much money on X. Most of the money went into Facebook. So if you look at my Facebook page, I think that I still have around 10,000 followers on that. Very, very low activity. Very, very low activity. And I know more people have been flocking to Facebook rather than away from Facebook. So I'm sort of wondering where the momentum is there. And so I think the game that the social media outlets are trying to play is they see that they have a pocketbook right there to tap. And if they've tapped it once, they think they can tap it again. And so they have minimal displays. I think that, Chad, you and I had a conversation a few weeks ago where I ran a report of all my X followers, which are 2,000 or so. And they were like 98% real, which is really, really good. No bots in there, 98% real. And I was also paying for the premium service, which is $1,000 a month. This is the verified organization service. That helps you kind of get superior support, superior access there. And that is really, $80,000 a day is really wild. It's really stupid too, right? Again, if I'd wanted to be in a totally different situation, but is what it is. But so I'm paying for this service, and I think that I had one view of a tweet that I sent like 8 hours later. One view of the tweet 8 hours later with 2,000 followers that are 96, 98% there, and I'm paying the very, very top tier of membership there at Facebook on X. And so it's just really a hit and miss. And so I've come to believe that the social media outlets for most of us are just outlets to advertise. I'm seeing more momentum into the advertising rather than the social posting. So hopefully that helps, Chad. Great question. I appreciate you. But if I had to pick a social media outlet, I would definitely pick YouTube. But far and away better than YouTube is newsletters. I value a newsletter subscriber 10 times more than I value a social media subscriber. Hopefully that helps there, Chad. All right, Grizz. All right. So as you help the youth get into business, do you find they have false beliefs about business they have to unlearn? Yeah, man, great question. Like you're reading the tea leaves, my friend. So let me kind of provide some background here. So when I was 15 years old, I was cleaning the stainless steel toilets of inmates. Stainless steel toilets of inmates. So I was locked in a cell cleaning the toilets for the inmates. So lower than the low, worst of the worst situation. But I was there doing that. And what I thought was after I started my business that all that would change. And so 15 years old, all the way to 25 years old. When I was 25 years old, I had hundreds of W-2 employees. But I was still, when I showed up to these corporate campuses we would manage, I would still find something I didn't like about quality. And I remember one time I realized that I always look for certain things. And one of the things I look for is the cleanliness of the toilets. And so I was actually cleaning the porcelain toilets of corporate interns still when I was 25 with hundreds of employees. The thing is that nothing ever really changes. Nothing ever changes. For me, it's always I'm either cleaning toilets or cleaning up crap or trying to find money for payroll. It's always the same stuff over and over again. And so we do not assume that business changes too much. It's getting into business has to do with consistency and pain and failure. And so I think that there's an assumption, Grizz, that one of the false beliefs is that I'm going to stop failing, that I'm going to make a little bit of money and I'm going to stop failing. No, no, no. The failures become more extreme and more visible. I remember I was at my win party, I guess, after I ran for Congress, and I was there, and everyone's checking their phones, and I'm looking at the phone, and I'm ignoring the phone most of the night. But then I look at the phone the one time I get it, and I get this text message, and it's a screenshot of TV. It's the national NBC News outlet with my picture saying that I lost. Well, that's a pretty visible loss. And so I think trying to realize that these losses, these pains toughen us up, and also that they're really the only true way to joy in the end, to accept them willingly. Look, we're gonna take on pains willingly or forcibly. And if you take them on forcibly, you're doing that as a penalty. You're taking on willingly, you're taking those on as a pathway to joy and to your future. And so that's the way that I see those two things. But I think the young people that I speak to anyway, they have some issues with that. Grizz, man, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that. All right, Chad, great answer. Thanks, appreciate that. Hey, for those of you that just joined, I am super excited. I saw that we just had 10 more of you jump in. I'm really excited to be here with you. I want to make sure that you see everything that we see here. So I've got a glass table here. I'll be able to draw some explanations here. But let me get to some of the questions. These are the top 3 questions that I got, mainly from the newsletter folks and the newsletter subscribers. I love you guys. You guys are great. First question was, why did you write a book about steps and not rules? Why did you write a book about steps and not rules? So this is the forthcoming book. It'll be launched in July. July 5th will be great. So we're going to do a whole month full of launch activities. I have a special podcast series on purpose that I've already filmed the first 4 episodes that you'll get an early glimpse of. If you go to my website, rickwalker.com, and click on the top, there's a bonuses where you sign up for the newsletter, and you get a lot of bonuses. You get a 4-episode series of my purpose series, and you also get a ton of life hacks, a ton of tools. I even have something that's kind of neat that is about how to get protein in your diet, because I'm someone that I want to try to eat 150 grams of protein a day. I don't have time to do that. I can't meal prep. I don't have time to do that. So how do I get 150 grams from fast food and gas stations and just stuff I can buy at the store and be able to eat on the run? I've got things like that on the website. So if you click on the top of the website and subscribe to the newsletter, you'll be able to get those tools immediately. I'll email those to you immediately, and hopefully those will be additive to your life. But the reason why I wrote a book about steps and not rules, obviously Jordan Peterson, JVP, as we affectionately call him, had the 12 rules for life, which is just a home run of successes over and over and over again with the lectures and the content. I realized that steps are something that can compound, right? I can't take my 3rd step unless I take my 1st and my 2nd step. So I realized that I wanted to build a process through which we could effectuate a program of change in our lives. Right? We not only have to change our minds, we have to be able to change our conceptions of power, our conceptions of happiness, and our conceptions about what our enemy's purpose is, and how we confront that. And so that's why I came up with steps. Steps are always also a little metaphorical as well, a little more visual as well, because as you step forward, you're stepping towards something, and you can't really very well. You can take a sideways step, so not very well, but you can either step forward towards your future, or you can step backward towards your past. But there are really no neutral steps. You're always advancing towards heaven or back towards hell. And so this is one of the things I like about a step. In order to take a step, you actually have to bend your knee a little bit. You have to, in a way, you have to sort of kneel in the air as you approach your future. And so that's symbolic of obviously us having to kneel to someone that's higher than us, kneel to a master that's higher than us. And so that's why one of 100 reasons why I wrote a book about steps and not rules. So question number 2, why are there 9 steps? Why are there 9 steps? So this is really something really, really great. So I want to give you an overview of the 9 steps. Let me walk you through the 9 steps as a roadmap to how I believe that we can begin to construct the ideal man. So Viktor Frankl, the great author and just individual who survived the concentration camp, realized that a man can survive almost anything if he has a future love or a future responsibility to look forward to. So a future love or a future responsibility to look forward to, even if that loved one is a dead person, even if you know that your wife or your children are dead in your concentration camp, he said, even if you know that they are there somewhere, you can survive almost anything. And so we always want to be future oriented. And so what I will ask you occasionally throughout the book and throughout these series is, I want you to think about your ideal future self and imagine what that ideal future self would want from you to do. What would that ideal future self want you to do? What sort of questions would they ask you? So questions like, what is something that really breaks your heart? Or what would you do if you knew you could never die? Or why is it that your pocketbook always predicts your destiny? Why are those things true? And so these are wise questions that the wiser version of yourself can ask yourself today. This also helps propel you towards your future. And Grizz, hey man, so much. Who would benefit most from what's in this new book? Love it. So I wrote this book primarily for young men who are between 25 and 45. Obviously, some of us are a little outside that range, but we can benefit from that. But men that are seeking purpose, because what the mistake that all these great thinkers and these academicians think, they say, is you've got to have a goal in life. You have to have a reason to live. You have to have a purpose. You have to have a vision. But the problem for many men that are in the midst of this meaning crisis, that they don't know what they want out of life. They can't articulate that I want to do this or this or that, because all they've really felt is despair and sort of this mediocrity, this meandering out of life. And so I wanted to come up with a way that we could get those men to move. And I think Paul Vanderklay, who a lot of you guys know, he gave a great blurb on the back of the book. Let me just read that because it's about that. He said, if you're a young man seeking wisdom, meaning, and to be impactful, this book is for you. Dr. John Vervaeke says now John Vervaeke, you may have seen him on Jordan Peterson. I think he was also on Chris Williamson. He's a professor of Buddhist psychology and cognitive science at the University of Toronto. He's the author of Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. He says, Walker weaves together wisdom from ancient philosophy, authenticity from his personal autobiography, and a profound sense of reverence from the Christian tradition to reflect upon what it means to become a good man leading a meaningful life. So this is really what the core is. Like, how do you become a good man leading a meaningful life? If you don't know where you want to go or what you want to do, you don't have a conception, you've never seen a good man living a meaningful life, well, this book is to set that forward for you. So I've basically created a new genre called this self-improvement memoir, where we're taking personal examples, because why would I ever tell you about ancient stories or ancient traditions or processes without telling you about the mistakes I've made? But also, why would I just tell you about myself when I can tell you about who I learned from? And so this is a little bit what the book is about. So hopefully that helps answer that question. But the first thing I've realized was that if we don't know what the purpose of our lives is, and we've never seen anyone that's actually lived with purpose, how do we figure out a way through that? What I realized is the pathway to find your destiny and your purpose, if you don't have a vision of what that wants to be in the future, is you look around you and you find out what just destroys your soul. What is the manifest evil that you see around you? It may be the pornography site that doesn't respect kids. It may be the drugs that you see your mother or your sister taking and just destroy their lives, these various prescription drugs or illegal drugs that you see happening. It may be the alcohol that's defeated you over and over and over again. You can't just push through that. We're looking for a manifest evil that is very, very close to you. Like I said before, my buddy Scott Baker, hopefully Scott's watching here. My buddy Scott Baker, who helped me with the book, he says, Rick, what is something that breaks your heart? So this is what you're looking for. You're looking for something that breaks your heart. And once you find that, you name that as your enemy. You name it as your enemy, because the thing that you name as your enemy, if it's higher and bigger and grander enough, you can be able to cobble together the competency to be able to go and attack that. And if it's high enough of a goal, and that you're on the side of the divine, you're on the side of God in that, he will empower you with resources and connections to go and attack that great big enemy. So that's actually step number one about how I want men to proceed in life. If they don't know what they want, I want them to choose one worthy enemy. Choose one worthy enemy. And that's actually what the first step is about in the book. Number two, aim high, because aiming low is the only sin, right? There's only one sin that you can commit. There's not 10 commandments. There's not even 2 commandments. There's really only one commandment. And that's that aiming low is the only sin. So don't do it. Don't do it. I hate to drag out JBP again, Jordan B. Peterson, but he has a whole section in his lecture series and also in his books about aiming high, right? You've got to aim for something above you and beyond you. Let me give you a definition for wisdom. Let me give you a definition for what the wise person does. The wisest mind looks into the most distant future for the most valued reward that he can purchase with the currency of the present. Hopefully that just blew up your mind. Hopefully I just stopped you. Let me repeat that. Let me repeat that. The wisest mind looks into the most distant future for the most valued reward that he can purchase with the currency of the present. All that you have to offer is your now, is your today, is the hope for tomorrow, but all you really have is today to offer. And so we've got to go invest our today in the most distant reward with the greatest value in the most distant future. So many of us are looking into what we want to see happen, and we're thinking next week or next year, or we're trying to think through that 20-year pension. And I think that's great, because we got to think about a retirement. We've got to think about what's going to happen next year. But we don't go all in on next year. We don't go all in on next year. We go on something that's higher, something that's further out. When I say aim high, the higher you aim, the more future distance that you aim out, the greater the reward that you aim out, the greater the meaning and relevance in your life, because that's how you get meaning and relevance. Relevance has to do with durability, about indestructibility in the thing that you're building your life around, not about something that's immediate. So it works something like this, that we don't think about what's a year out or even 100 years out. We're thinking about what is going to be the most valued reward 10,000 years out. This is the way we think. This is why we don't read primarily books that were written in the last 20 or 30 or 50 years. We're reading books that are hundreds of years old or even millennia years old, except for this one. When this one comes out, you're going to want to read this one. Side note. So this is why we think into the deepest future and also into the deepest past that you can get, because truth endures over time. Right? It takes the generations to be able to weed out the nonsense. That's why a book that's only 2 or 3 or 5 years old, has a high probability of nonsense. But if you go back millennia, the older books weed things out. I also like to say this, that if you're ever looking to solve a problem, the older the sage, the quicker the solution. The older the sage, the quicker the solution. So this is how we're able to make meaning and find meaning in our life. Your own 1964 fan showing up again. Name your enemy. I have found that to be very, very true personally. That's right. Yeah. You got to name your enemy. If you don't know what you're attacking, you got to be very specific with it, man. That is right on. So you want to name that manifest evil that you see that is hindering others, that's hindering you. And if you're a dad, you're an uncle, you're someone who's maybe an older person that has people that work for them, or you see people that are what I consider to be innocents, INNOCENTS. So that the plural of innocent people around you, you have a duty to protect those people. In fact, you're responsible, Dostoevsky would say, you're responsible for what they see. You're responsible for the evil that they see. And when that evil that they see is not confronted by a good man, that's a problem. That's on you and me. So it's our duty to talk about it. Let me talk about this just for a second philosophically. What is the purpose of light? What is the purpose of light? I would submit for your consideration, the purpose of light is to invade the dark. The purpose of light is to invade the goodness. So therefore, the purpose of the good man, if you consider yourself a good man or a good woman, is to invade the evil. The purpose of the good is to invade the evil, just as the purpose of the light is to invade the darkness. You've got to pick one worthy enemy and don't hold back. So that's step number one. And step number two, choose one worthy enemy. Number two, aim high, because aiming low is the only sin. The nearer you seek to yourself, the more recent the books, The more recent, the more near the future point you're thinking about. If you're thinking about next week, you're going on next week instead of 1,000 years from now or 10,000 years from now. That's aiming low. So the further you get back and the further you get out, the higher you're aiming generally. Okay. Man, love that. Love that. Love that. Keep the questions coming, guys. I see it. There's a number of you that just joined. So, man, awesome to have you. Awesome to have you. Again, we're streaming not only at X, but Facebook and the YouTube. And there's a lot of you guys coming in from work, just entering your lunch break. Rule number 3. So this is step number 3. Pick a master or one will be thrust upon you. Pick a master or one will be thrust upon you. One will be provided for you. If you don't know who you serve, you will be enslaved to someone of not of your choosing. If you don't know what you serve, you will be enslaved to something not of your choosing. Why does that happen? Why does that happen? The conventional sense, and this goes back to C.S. Lewis, talks about our proclivity, our need to be able to create false masters. If you guys have seen Ricky Bobby, The Legend of Ricky Bobby, it's a classic. Not that I've ever seen it because it's got cursing. I would never watch anything with cursing, but it's an epic film. There's this great dinner table scene, like the dinner table that we're sitting at right now. Dinner table scene where they're praying, and he prays to the baby Jesus, the 5-pound, 6-ounce baby Jesus, and his brother Cal Naughton Jr. says that I like to think of Jesus with angel wings saying "Lead for Leonard Skinner," and they talk about their conceptions of Jesus. They invent their own versions of Jesus, and this is what we do. We invent our own gods. We invent our own rules, because you might say that I want to believe a God that is never puts harm in my way, or never allows me to lose my money, or never would have taken away that person that I loved in my life. We invent these gods because we're trying to invent something else that we can hold accountable, right? We're not talking about a true God. We're talking about an invented God. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? Many of you would say, hey, Rick, I think what people do, they make themselves God. They worship themselves. That's true. That's true. But that's too convicting. It's too awkward. It's too close. We set up a false God. We set up an invented God, and that invented God is the object of our desire. But the beauty about an invented God who wears diapers, that sings Lead for Leonard Skinner, that never allows any harm to come to us, that would never force us out of our comfort zone, would never let Aunt Betty die. This invented God, we can blame. We can blame. You see, if we're the God, if we're the master of our own future, we're not strong enough to take the blame. We need someone else to blame. So this is why we invented God. So pick a master or one will be thrust upon you. Hopefully that helps you there. Step 4. Trust that revelation requires sacrifice. I am going to see if I can get the table back up and going. I'm gonna do side by side. If you lose the audio, please let me know if you lose audio. But I want to give you an idea about how this is structured on this table. So I'm going to try to reach up here. So step number one is choose your enemy. Choose your enemy. Again, please let me know if you lose the audio like we did before. Step number 2 is aim high. Again, we're gonna look into our future and past. The older the sage, the quicker the resolution. Number 3, hopefully you guys can see this on the board up there. Pick a master. Audio is so good. Thank you, Padron. Pick a master. Pick a master. Step number 4, trust that revelation requires sacrifice. This is the one we haven't talked about yet. So this is one that is very, very meaningful to me. Revelation, there's some squeaking, requires sacrifice. What is revelation? Revelation is the act of seeing, the act of realizing what is to come or what you're supposed to do. It's the act of seeing a purpose in your life to understand truth. And in order to understand truth, you must evict your eyes from that which is false. In order to understand truth, you must evict your eyes from that which is false. And so as we work through what it means to trust that revelation requires sacrifice, you must trust. That is the verb. That is the verb in this step. Trust that revelation requires sacrifice. You must trust that revelation requires sacrifice. Your sacrifice is that which you give your attention to. When you give your attention, like I'm giving my attention 100% to you right now, I have sacrificed everything else in reality. I've sacrificed everything from my vision of what's around me, of what's behind me. I've sacrificed my thinking about all the other problems, all the enduring issues that I've got working at work today and at home. I've sacrificed everything for you because I want to have a revelation. I want to see and understand what you're thinking, and I want to be able to communicate unfiltered, unadulterated what I believe. And so this is why sacrifices our attentions to everything that's inferior, to something superior is so important. This is also the way that you build a great organization, because you must sacrifice the things that you know you could do, but you do not want to do because they're lesser things. I must sacrifice offering leasing services and property management services and going and selling donuts and selling coffee so that I can be a really great investment broker. I must sacrifice being a dad to 3 really amazing girls. I must sacrifice everything else, being a father to 100 people, so I can be a really great dad to 3 amazing girls. I must sacrifice all other likes in order to embrace the love of my wife. You see, I must sacrifice the things that I'd be nice to keep, but I know I shouldn't keep them. And so whenever I sacrifice those things, I'm able to see love, I'm able to see success, I'm able to see purveyance, and I'm able to get a glimpse of my future. And so this is the way that revelation requires sacrifice. Audio is still good. Good. All right, step number 5, no joy requires pain. No joy requires pain. I'll get the camera back on stage here. So those of you guys that are joining, know that joy requires pain. This is what I would consider to be the hallmark step. This is the hallmark step of what it means to understand the contrast and the texture that we go through in life. Many of us have been struck by great pains, great losses of great loves, great tragedy. And what we think about is that these are setbacks, If you remember a few minutes ago, I told you about why these are called steps and not rules. These are called steps and not rules, because steps talk about moving you forward towards a finish line, towards a destiny, towards heaven, towards your future, towards what you were meant to be. And if you're a runner in a race, what do you need in order to get that endurance, to get that acceleration initially and on occasion when you need it? You need a bit of friction. You need a bit of grip, right? The friction against a runner's shoe is grip. It's locking the shoe in place for a moment so they can be propelled forward towards their future, the place where they want to get to as fast as possible. And so pain, in a sense, is a little bit like that, but it's also more, because sometimes you can flip the threats that you see, the grip you see, into grit. You flip grip, the things that have hold you back, that you think are slowing you down, you flip it into grit. You flip threats into opportunities. That is actually the way of the wise. When they see a threat, when those of us that aren't able to understand a specific scenario, we just see threats. The wise man, the wise woman sees opportunity, and they flip the threat into the opportunity. This is what makes it work for them. So why does joy require pain? I submit for your consideration that a painless world is a world that you would not want to live in. That the painless world would never birth a joyful life. Pain begets the joy. Because if you always lived at the edge of comfort, if you always lived at the edge of where you want to be, if you only felt the experiences that you want to feel, you would have no contrast in your life. You would have no realization of what it means to go from the lowest lows to the highest highs. You would live a life of definitionally mediocrity. You would live a life that's always in the safe zone, when in fact, life is always lived at the edge of safety. That's where life is at the edge of safety, is when you push up from the known into the unknown. That's where life manifests itself most regularly. So joy requires pain and it requires discomfort, because the way that you get true joy in your life is not through the being at the line of where joy and comfort starts. That's not how you get there. The way you get there is realizing the full depths of depravity, the full depths of evil, the full depths of the assault against the enemies of illness, of joblessness, of poverty, and the heights of knowing what you can do. Joy is found in the contrast between those two, not at a stated line. We're all different. We're all different. That's also how redemption is found, and we'll get to that here in a second. But it's in the contrast. It's the contrast between what you've experienced low and what you can experience high. That's where joy begins to take root in the soul. Number 6, embrace the unknown. Embrace the unknown. Why do we embrace the unknown? Remember what I just said a second ago, that life is lived at the edge of safety. Really, it's lived just past the point of safety. It's lived just beyond the thing that you know, the thing that makes you comfortable, the thing that allows you to operate with surety. Only the man that lives in surety is the one that's sure to lose his life into just an oblivion of meaninglessness. This is how you lose a life. You stay in safety. You stay in comfort. You avoid the pain. Embrace the unknown. This is a step that I go into depth in my book, where I talk about Nicholas Nassim Taleb. This is the author of the Black Swan book, about the statistical probability of what it takes to be able to move forward and understand relevance, because relevance is lived not only on the x-axis but also on the y-axis. Let me give you an example here. Hopefully you can see this chart here if you're above me. So you have the two axes here, and so the normal distribution curve. I'll use some different colors here to brighten things up here. The normal distribution curve of statisticians. Now, keep in mind, Nicholas Nassim Taleb, who wrote the Black Swan, is a statistician. Is you kind of average them all out, and you sort of see this projection of what happens over time or over a certain number of events, certain number of iterations. And so we begin to see that this is, and we believe that the world operates like this. It operates in a series of averages. So we've got these different data points that are all up and down this spectrum. And when you average it together, you get this projection. It may even look like a curve, and they call this the Gaussian curve. This is the normalcy curve, where you take a bunch of different plot points and you average them out. It creates a curve. It creates a curve over time. This is linearity, is what some people refer to. And the problem with this is that every once in a while, there's a black swan. There's a black swan event. And the way that you define a black swan event is A, it's something that you could not have predicted until after it happens. B, it's something that shakes the world. And C, it's something that has high relevance to the situation. And what happens to a black swan event? Where's that on the chart? It's way up here. It's way up here. It's 10 feet above the Gaussian curve. But what the statisticians do is they eliminate it from their findings a lot of time, or they'll water it down with the rest of the decision points, assuming that it's just one of many decision points. But what Nicholas Taleb says is that it's the outlier. It's the outliers that predict reality. It's the outliers that predict reality, not the normal things that you see every day. Those things are irrelevant long term. You think about the Asian tsunami of 2004 that came from 500 miles off the coast and just slammed into, I think, 3 different countries and caused, 200,000 deaths. It's something you could not have expected, but it was meaningful. It was relevant to a certain subset of Asian families and Asian countries. It was relevant there. The unknown is what impacts the known. The known doesn't really impact the unknown. So what do I mean by saying embrace the unknown? Embrace the unknown. You must realize that all education is founded on learning. And you can never learn that which you think that you already know. You see where I'm going? Education, growth, learning are all predicated on your acknowledgement that there is something that is unknown out there that you do not understand and that you need in order to fulfill your calling. whatever you're trying to do, the job you're trying to do, the destiny you're trying to create for your family, the one thing that you need is out there beyond the grasp of the known into the unknown. That's actually the only way to grow, is to embrace the fact that what you need is outside of what you can experience right now. And so this is why we must embrace the unknown. The unknown is sort of this murky area where we don't know what we need. This is what they call the unknown there. And so all the value, the things that are really relevant in life, the things that challenge you, are found in the unknown. And obviously the way to realize, to become the type of person where you realize that you don't know what you don't know, or to realize that you know that what you need is out there in the unknown, not in the area of your comfort, is to be a humble person. All right, step number 7, give away what you want to keep. Oh, this is a good one. Give away what you want to keep. Give away what you want to keep. All right. If you want a tree, you've got to plant the seed in the ground. The seed has to die in the depths of the ground, in the darkness of the ground, in order to bloom forth a tree that can either give you shade or to give you fruit, or even both. You never get the shade or the fruit without burying the seed in the ground. An investor, if you're an investor, and that's primarily what I do for a job, I have to make an investment with an entrepreneur. I have to give that money away if I ever want to be able to expect a yield and return that keeps up with inflation. If I just keep my money, I'm just going to get eaten away by inflation over time. I'm going to lose everything to inflation. I've got to be able to give it away and trust it. Investing is an act of giving. Let me give it to you another way. I'm going to go back to Lewis here, C.S. Lewis. Nothing that you have not given away will ever really be yours. I hope someone wrote that down. I'm going to repeat it. I'll repeat it 2 more times. You're going to get it. Nothing that you have not given away will ever really be yours. I'll repeat it 1 more time here in a second. If you want competency, you have to give away the skill that you wish to manifest into your destiny. If you want to see a child fully matured, you have to at some point give that child up for that child to mature and come back to you with grandchildren of their own. You have to realize that the only way to obtain what you want is through giving. This is why the law of reciprocity is so powerful. If I do you a favor, you'll do me a favor. But I don't want any favors. But I want to be able to help people, because in helping is the only way I'm able to give. So let me repeat that Lewis line again for those of you that are trying to write it down. Nothing that you have not given away will ever really be yours. And of course, the one thing that you must give away if you're ever to live is your life. If you ever really want to live, you've got to give your life up to something that's higher than you. This is why you have to aim higher. This is why the wise man, what? Remember what I said a second ago? The wisest mind looks into the most distant future for the most valued reward that he can purchase with the currency of the present. And what's the currency of the present? Your very life. So just give away what you want to keep. Number 8, we're getting close. We got 9 steps. We're getting close. Also good. Great. Thanks, Chad. Man, hey, steal all these. I like these quotes. I call these quotes bangers. Bangers. If you look at my newsletter, the first thing that you see is 3 bangers. I used to call them 3 quotes. I thought, no, we're not going to call them quotes. We're going to call them bangers. So that's sort of a hobby of mine. I sort of collect bangers. I've got about 15,000 of them, and I created, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 for the book that are just easy to steal ideas about how to think about complicated concepts. So hopefully those will be useful for you. But step 8, act like you will live forever. Act like you will live forever. The second half of this is even more important. But move like all you have is today. Act like you will live forever, but move as if all you have is today. Remember, you're acting like you'll live forever. That's what the wise man does, right? The wise man looks in the most distant future. He looks into to eternity for the most distant eternal reward they can sacrifice with the present that uninfinite, that very passive, very passing away type of thing that we call our life. Act like you will live forever, but know that all that you have is today to act. Today is all you have to act. You already lost yesterday. All you have is a hope for tomorrow. All you have is a hope for a future. And so all you have is today. You must move today. Today is all that you get. In fact, your todays If your today is moving enough in the right direction, if today is holy enough, it can sanctify all of your past. A holy enough today can sanctify all of your past. I believe that. I believe that. What is that one act against evil, against that one worthy enemy that you can effectuate today, that you can do now? Maybe you'll sanctify some yesterdays. Maybe you'll provide a little more hope and energy for tomorrow. This is the way we move through. Act like you will live forever. It's said that you're a body that happens to have a soul. This is getting back to Lewis. It said that you're a body that happens to have a soul. No. What Lewis says is, no, you misunderstand that. You're a soul that just happens to have a body. You're a soul that just happens to have a body. Your body, although will be redeemed and will be restored at some point in the Christian faith and in the and a number of other faith traditions, you have to realize that you're a soul primarily. You're a soul primarily, and the soul is eternal. We have to get that around our thick heads or into our thick brains and be able to think about our forevers instead of just our todays. But we realize that the only way to reach our forever is to handle today truthfully. All right, step number 9, and then we're gonna get back into some questions. It'll be good. Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate the comments, appreciate the encouragement. Hopefully I'm speaking fast enough. We're gonna get through all this here. All right, step number 9. Seek beauty, and you may find truth. Seek beauty, and you may find truth. A lot of you are asking, what the hell's going on here? This guy's got a picture of Hercules battling the Hydra on the front of his book. Hercules battling the Hydra. What is this? I just got a switcheroo here. He's talking about beauty in the very last step, and I've got violence on the cover. Seek beauty, you may find truth. Whenever you're meandering, whenever you're wandering around your life, whenever you're trying to figure out what your destiny is meant to be, the way that you find that is you try to identify what is the decision that would bring the most beautiful story that I can tell my kids, my grandkids, and they'll want to tell their own children one way. Let me put this a different way. Let me put this a very, very specific way. No one will give a damn about your life after you're gone unless you've defeated a worthy enemy or heightened a love. Let me repeat that. Hopefully my mom's not watching, or my wife. I'm going to be in real trouble for using the D word. No one will give a damn about your life after you're gone unless you've destroyed an enemy who's worthy or heightened a love. Those are the only two scenarios. And so you've got to figure out, after you're long and gone, what sort of story are people going to tell about you? Because if you don't do one of those two things, no one's going to tell a story about you. You'll be long and gone. You'll be gone. You'll be gone. And those who are gone are never relevant. Those who are gone have never really lived a life of meaning, a purpose. There's been no indestructibility about the story that they've led. Whenever you're trying to figure out what the right decision is, paint the most beautiful picture with your life. Create the most beautiful story that people will want to tell. Tell that story, not of a man that lived on the edge of comfort, but the man that experienced the deepest of pains and the highest of joys. And then help others around him see that. The woman that brought healing. The woman that brought healing. There's this lie that we were told, and this is the lie that you'll hear in a lot of the debates, that, you know, if there's such a thing as goodness, why is there so much evil around us? Why is there so much pain around us? Why are these kids dying sick in the hospital? Why all this manifest evil around us? Why? What we forget is that without pain, without health issues, without sickness and disease, you would have no need for doctors. And the very act of a doctor taking part in a healing is itself a piece of beauty. The act of healing is a piece of beauty. Just as the act of forgiveness is an offer of beauty coming into both parties' lives. So is redemption. And so I know a lot of you out there are like me. You made a lot of mistakes in your life that you've tried to figure out how the way that I'm going to get through this. Like, I made too many mistakes. Like, you know, I was embarrassed on national news. I've had my home destroyed. I'm getting ready to lose my marriage. I'm getting ready to lose everything I've got. It's just hopeless. All I've ever experienced is failure. I have one promise for you. I have one promise for you is there's hope for redemption. And if you're focused on building a beautiful story that one day your kids and your grandkids will want to tell about you, know this, that a redeemed man is more perfect than a perfect man who never needed to be redeemed. I'm going to read that here in a second. This goes back to the doctor who's healed. A world with doctors who heal disease is better than a world without any disease at all. Because it's in the healing where the beauty is created in the story. It's in the forgiveness where the beauty is created in a relationship. It's in the redemption. I don't want to live in a world without any redemption. I don't want to live in a world that's a beautyless world. That's a nonsense world. That's an invented world with invented gods and invented egos. I don't want to live in that kind of world. I want to live in a world where evil is confronted by good men who want to find a worthy enemy and who will probably go to the competency and the resources to go and attack that enemy. That's the kind of world I want to live in. I don't know about you. That's kind of where I want to live in. Man, how do we get through there? How do we get through there? Let me repeat that. A redeemed man is more perfect than a perfect man who's never needed to be redeemed. Your redemption brings beauty into the world such that a perfect man never had. It's the story of every seed to rise out of the dirt grave. It's the story of the water bubbling out from the ground to create mud that'll then water the garden. It's the story of every boy who wants to become a giant slayer. It's the story of every resurrected God coming back to life. It's the story over and over again of how to find beauty, how to bring beauty into a story where all that the participants want is mediocrity and plainness. That's what we got to fight against. Anyway, so those are the 9 steps. Those are the 9 steps, and I go super, super deep. I give you some great stories in the book on that. You've got that on the screen. If you guys want to take a screenshot of that, you're welcome to do that. And we'll move on here. So let me remove this from the screen. I've got some more stuff. Hey, I'm so happy. 20 of you guys just joined. And I want to thank you. I mean, the last 2 weeks have just really been special because I haven't really been doing very many podcasts lately, the last several months, trying to work on this 9 steps project. And I think that last week was my very first week where we had 1,000 new subscribers to the newsletter at rickwalker.com. I think a lot of you guys were just telling friends about the newsletter and some value that it's brought to you. So hopefully that's true. But I just really appreciate that. I looked at the numbers right before we jumped on. I think I had another 730 so far this week on top of 1,000 last week. So just from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. Again, I'm not a guru. I'm just, we're just a couple of students in the classroom comparing notes of what's worked, what hasn't worked. And we're in this thing together. But no, I really appreciate it. All right. I think we may have a question winner right here. Black Fatigue Kevin, why ugly dudes always rich? Oh my, what a banger of a question. What a banger of a question. Why ugly dudes always rich? Okay, I'm not rich. I'm not a good-looking guy. So I'll tell you guys a story. Hopefully there's no family watching. I was at a wedding. I don't know, last week. One of my nephews got married, and one of his another college-age guy was there with his girlfriend from college, and she was sitting by herself. He was up with his family members, enjoyed the wedding, doing activities, and the woman was sitting here. And I pulled him aside at one point. I said, "Dude," "do you realize that you're a 4 and she's a 9? Like, what are you doing? Like, do not ignore a 9 when you're just a 4. Do not ignore a 9 when you're just a 4." And so we've got to realize there's scenarios where you don't have an equal footing. But why is that? Here's really why. You'll see the men that are 4s with the women that are 9s. The men that are 4, women that are 9s. How do you account for the difference? Well, our buddy Kevin just pointed it out. It's competency. It's sometimes competency manifests as wealth, and that spreads the divide. It's also the competency of articulation. There's a lot of men who don't have any money, but they're just really gifted emotionally. They have a very high emotional intelligence. They're able to span that spectrum between the 4 and the 9, and get there. So whenever you see a man who's a 4 with a woman that's a 9, I'm really a 2, my wife's a 10. Whenever you see that delta, you have to infer competency. That's the way that you get around that, and that's why you always see that. A man of competence will never be with a woman that doesn't have one of the two things. Now you also find this among couples that are very interesting, where you find a couple who are both intellectually stimulated. They're both intellectually stimulated. Have you ever met those people that are just abhorrently like unattractive, but you're sort of attracted to the words that they're putting out there? That is just one of those things that where there's some resonance among two people. It's not sexual. It's not anything there, but there's this idea where there's two minds that are attracted to what the others are putting out there. That is sort of within the realm of the competency of idea. So, hey, great question. Hey, I'm open for anyone that wants to try to beat Kevin's question right here. Why ugly dudes always rich? Why ugly dudes always rich? That's a great idea. You should write a post about that, or you should even put that on YouTube. Why ugly dudes are always rich. That's a really, really good thing. So, hey, just a little background about where we're at. This is a fresh shot. In fact, I was putting all this thing together today. Again, Nev's not here. She normally produces all the live streams. The last 2 or 3 years she's done this. She's busy today, so I'm doing this all by myself. I set up the main camera, and the camera, I plugged the wrong power cable into it, and the camera just got fried. So I lost the camera. So this may be the most expensive live stream that I've ever done. But if you look kind of back here, there's some you'll see at very, very end. You'll see some paintings on the walls, right? You see the edge of a black painting there against that wall. If you go back and look at some of the original live audience, the ones that we've done with Don Jr. and Dr. Ben Carson, you'll see those black paintings in the background. So that's on the other side of this. I'm not sitting in the lobby, so I'm sitting on one side of the lobby. I'm surrounded by windows. This is primarily all natural light. Great day to be out here with some natural light here. And then right above that, on the second floor, there's a glass half wall there. That's where I regularly shoot the podcast. But I'm liking this because I've got some area to scratch here, scratch some ideas out here. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. But we want to be able to get through. Thanks for the answer. Have a good day. Hey, Kevin, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. You win the prize unless someone else comes with something, a higher, more noble banger than that. That's a really good one here. But yeah, so we do the podcast up there. We do the live stuff right here, and this is sort of a new area here. But hopefully this works out for you. Let me know in the comments too what you think about having the writing surface and also sort of this new look here in the room. Hopefully there's not too much of an echo here. But so we talked about the 9 steps. Each step builds on the last. Remember, I talked about them, the compounding, and together they create forward motion. They create some courage. They create some urgency and clarity. And ultimately, what they create is metamorphosis. They create transformation. If you look at this cup, these are some cups. So if you're on my launch team, and I know a number of you guys are and gals are launch team, once you complete the launch team 4-step, which is reading the book, leaving a review, an honest review, sharing on social, and getting the word out there after launch, you'll get one of these. This cup set has Hercules fighting the Hydra, the same one from the book, and next to it says, "Wait for it patiently, annihilation or metamorphosis." It's a Marcus Aurelius quote out of Meditations. Wait for it patiently, metamorphosis or annihilation. Or annihilation or metamorphosis is what the cup says. That's really all you get. Those are the only 2 options in life. Either you cannot stay as you are. Either you're advancing toward heaven or you're falling towards hell when you step. Either you're advancing towards a metamorphosis or you're going to be annihilated. There's no sideways steps. There's no neutrality in life long term. So those are the 2 things. And I'm actually going to be doing a live masterclass for those of you who subscribe to the newsletter and pre-order the book on my website, rickwalker.com. You can pre-order from Amazon. It's nothing. Actually, I have the ebook, the Kindle version, set to the lowest price that Amazon allow right now, which is $2.99. I'm not part of the program where they can do 99-cent books, but $2.99 is functionally free. And then I'm also going to give you a ton of tools there on the website. But you don't really just become a different man. You've got to become a refined man. You've got to become a fully transformed man or woman. And this is really a great project for not only for the guys, but also for the ladies who love a man. If you love a man who's underperforming in life, if you have a man out there that you believe and can do more, but they're just not doing that, they just need that energy, right? Most men already have enough potential in their life. You've got plenty of potential. You just don't have the energy to move. And this is what I'm trying to do. So if you're a woman who loves a man who's underperforming, grab this, pick this up for him. If you've got sons, you got sons-in-law. That's why I wrote this in the first place. So I've got 3 daughters. I got 3 daughters, and I thought, what are the instructions I'm going to give my son-in-laws one day? I hopefully have 3 son-in-laws. Well, I wrote a book for my son-in-laws, right? And so if you want someone like me who's done some stuff in life, who's made some mistakes, had some tragedy, and pushed through that, if you want someone like me to be able to communicate to those people, those men in your life that are underperforming, who you've tried to fix, and the fixing just hasn't worked, let me give them a shot. Let me give it a shot. And so this is what the book's about. And so the final question that I got, of the top 3 questions I got from the newsletter subscribers, was, what does meaning look like for the man who has everything but feels empty? What does meaning look like for the man who has everything but feels empty? I think that this is a question about wealth. And so I'm happy to get in that. If there's no other questions from those of you guys that are live, I can do that again. We've got probably another 20 minutes on the live stream, so feel free to get your questions in right now. We'll do this. I'm gonna take a hit of Coke Zero, guys. I don't know why anyone's selling Diet Coke anymore. This is the way to go. If you're at a restaurant and they don't have Coke Zero, ask them to step it up. For all of us that are Coke Zero drinkers, this is a superior drink to Diet Coke. Anyone disagree with me? Feel free to comment. Okay, so the question on the table is, what does meaning look like for the man who has everything but feels empty? When we talk about meaning, we have to get together the idea of purpose, which is a subset of meaning, relevance having to do with the endurability of the pursuit, and also the object of the pursuit. It's the object of the pursuit that gives the pursuit its dignity. That's why the master matters, right? If you're a man who wants to be able to build competence in your life and mastery, you have to realize that mastery only comes from a master. The only way you're going to get good at something is to have a master that teaches you that. Mastery only comes from masters. The higher the master, the more things that he can teach you about. The longer out, the further back they are, the more enduring the lessons there. But there's a lot of people that have just sort of wandered themselves into prosperity. People that have gotten lucky on the another Ricky Bobby quote, putting all my eggs in the MTV basket. They've done those sorts of things and they've had some success there. Not for me. The things that I have, these came very, very tough. I never found anything easy. I've always just been bludgeoned to death before I've gotten anything. I tell my team sometimes, and my closest friends who I do some investing with, I tell them, we've got to try 99 things to get one thing to work. You got to try 99 things to get one thing to work. It's like what I started off the podcast telling you is that life is just a string of failures with occasional moment of perfection, right? That occasional moment of perfection is that step that you take towards a story of beauty that your grandkids would want to tell. But how do you get that? Money is not the way. Prosperity is not the way. Getting lucky is not the way. So this is the man that has everything but feels empty. So how do you feel some meaning? How do you get some meaning in your life? You not only look into the future, but you also look at those around you. The people around you that have the most assaults against them. Again, they're usually children and elderly. There's a reason why Scripture tells you that there's 2 classes of people that you're commanded to take care of. It's the orphans and the widows. It's the orphans and the widows. These are people on both sides of the life spectrum that are alone. So you're called to take care of those two sets of people. And so I found that if you want to try to find meaning, you don't know what that future vision of what it is, you don't see a manifest evil around you that you want to go attack, you feel empty, you don't have that energy, go take care of someone. And it's even better if it's a widow or if it's an orphan. It's one of those 2. And so that's one way that we've got to push forward and get through this. So I've got time. I've got probably another 15 minutes or so if anyone wants to going to hit me some questions or not. Hopefully I'm only seeing YouTube questions right now. I'm not getting any questions on Facebook or X. Hopefully there's some folks on Facebook or X asking. Yeah, I got a little more charge on the laptop. These laptops, they only make them with a certain number of USB ports. So you can only got 2 cameras, you can only plug those in, and no power for you, my friend. That's the way it goes. But I want to give you an idea about sort of behind the scenes, what's happening as we do a book launch. So I've worked on this book for 2 years, and I'm just sort of waiting for someone to get some comments here. Hey, Chad, man, thanks so much. I appreciate your comment. Great AMA, Rick, calling from Chad. Chad is the man. I'm going to be on his podcast here in the next few weeks, and we'll drop that. It will probably going to drop it the first couple of weeks of July. I'm fingers crossed to be able to make that work with the schedule. But that's one thing behind the scenes of a book launch. We're in the process of working on 80 podcast appearances. 80 podcasts. This is not one of them. This is me going on 80 other podcasts of friends and people that I've known from around, either from X or Facebook or YouTube, or people that I've seen. Did some fun ones. In fact, I was supposed to be on Funk Roberts' podcast earlier on today, which is for men that are 40s to 60s. You may have seen Funk on the cover of GQ magazine. He's a bodybuilder. He's a producer, just a jack guy, but he's got his head on a swivel, but he's got his head on straight too. So at the same time, he just has an immense amount of wisdom. So we had to push that off for another day, but we're going to reschedule, I believe, for June, and then we'll play that hopefully the first couple of weeks of July. But the idea behind all these podcasts is to make it look like, hey, Rick's everywhere the first week after July 5th. So the book launch is July 5th, July kind of 5th through 20th. I want it to look like I'm everywhere at the same time. How's this guy getting around everywhere? That's the way it works. So I've been shooting podcasts the last month on other people's programs. And I've also been shooting my own podcasts that are for pre-orders initially, that'll all go out, in the next few weeks after the book launch, beginning July 5th. I'm doing this live masterclass that is to be scheduled. I'm trying to work on the production crews. I want to do something really, really special for you, but I haven't found the production crew that can pull it off yet. So that'll probably be toward the end of July, and I'll get the date out as soon as I know it. But it's going to be a really, really great time, a really great evening. Very, very high energy. Again, the event's going to be called the 10th Step: Annihilation or Metamorphosis. The 10th step. This is the secret step that I left out of the 9 steps. It's the 10th step: Annihilation or Metamorphosis. That only people that pre-order the book and subscribe to the newsletter are going to be able to access. It's going to be a insiders only live masterclass. Again, you can pick up the book for $2.99 on Amazon. So this is not about any money. I'm not profit driven. I don't have a profit motive on any of this. I'm just trying to do the maximum that Amazon will allow me to do. So we've been shipping out books. I think we've shipped off around 350 books over the past few weeks. My daughter's here working on that. We've got 3 other ladies that are working remotely. So we've got a 4-person team working on the book launch. Those of you that have been on the launch team, that you've gone to rickwalker.com and signed to be on the launch team, you've probably have dealt with Lenora on Facebook and on email. She's doing great. So she's sort of coordinating the launch team. We've got a little bit over 100 people that are pre-reading the book early. So if you want to read the book early, you can get the 9 steps early. I'll just give it to you if you'll be on the launch team. And the launch team only requires 4 things: read or review the book, leave an honest review after the book launches, share it socially a couple of times, and then just be on the prowl and purchase 1 copy of the book. You can purchase the $2.99 copy of the book, but I need you to purchase a copy of the book so that whatever Amazon review you leave will be seen as a verified review. And so if you want to be on the launch team, those 4 things, go to rickwalker.com and sign up. You get one of these killer Annihilation or Metamorphosis influencer special edition mugs after you fulfill your 4 steps. I'll send you a copy of the book early so you can read it, paperback. We may have some hardbacks left, or Kindle e-version through NetGalley. So those are on there. But I really, really want to figure out a way that we can work together on this. And so this is really what I've been doing since January, is trying to figure out how you build a team to be able to launch a book so that you can get these ideas out in the world. Again, these are not widely agreed upon ideas. The idea that if you don't know a purpose, you don't have a vision for your life, you don't want to work on you can't put together objectives and tactics for a vision that doesn't exist. And this is the problem where men are. They don't know what's out there. They've never seen success. They've never seen someone live a life of meaning. They've only seen theoreticians online propagate these ideas out there that they've read in textbooks. No. I'm a doer, not a pontificator. If you want to listen to the advice of men who've never really lived, well, go listen somewhere else. But if you want to listen to a man who's failed and tried, well, this is all that I can offer you. That's all that I have to offer is just blood and some sweat. And so I believe that you can find purpose initially through identifying a worthy enemy. And this is a confrontational. This is a contrarian idea that I want to put out in the world and find this and provide these 9 steps. Again, these are for men. They have not found purpose in their lives. Dr. John Vervaeke has done a great job of documenting this meaning crisis, these men that are sort of 25 to 45 that are living, for the most part, loveless lives, lives of comfort, lives of mediocrity, lives that are digitally based, and lives that they don't know where it's going to go. And so they just sort of stay confined within what they see and what they feel comfortable with. And so that's what I want to be able to break out of and try to push for over the next couple of months. And so I really appreciate your willingness to help. All right, so I want to give you a couple things in the chat. I think this chat will work. I'm gonna send you a link to two things. First off, I want to send you a link that if you want to get, this is for viewers, if you would like to access a 4-part interview series that I've already shot and produced, you can do that. All you have to do is enter your email address here, and I'm going to send you an email every other week, but I'm going to send you one email immediately with a link to a 4-episode purpose series. That this series is just crazy. It's crazy that I haven't released it yet. But you're going to get first shot at reviewing this. They're on private YouTube links. You can watch them on YouTube, full length. They're hidden for the public, but I'm going to give you access to it. The first interview is with Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly is the man that invented the concept 1,000 true fans. That the way to success in life is to try to find 1,000 true fans. He also was founder and managing editor for Wired magazine. Very, very brilliant man, very, very wise man. We spent a couple hours together, maybe an hour and a half together, and he's dropped some wisdom there for you that only you, once you enter your email address there, can see. Number 2, Anne-Laure Lecomte. She is the best-selling author of the new book called Tiny Experiments, How to Run Experiments with Your Life to be able to break out of the old ways that you were doing things. We spent about an hour and a half together. She's been all over. She was on the Big Think Idea podcast for maybe 3 weeks ago. She's had a huge successful launch. She's on there. Third person is Christopher Freeman, who is a big thinker, an idea man. And the fourth person is a member of the House of Lords, a member of the UK House of Lords, Lord Nigel Biggar. Lord Biggar was kind enough to spend about an hour and a half with me on camera. This is some of the content that you're going to be able to see, how we push out of these confines of where we came from to a future of where we want to go. And Lord Biggar was just so gracious to us. Again, I was a little bit nervous because I've had members of the cabinet, I've had members of Congress, members of the Senate, the House, that have come on. I've had Secret Service in this room. I'm going to tell you guys a story sometime where we had Secret Service here 5 days in a row. I mean, they were pulling up in the back of the building, running motorcade tests here for a live event we were going to do here. But we've had Secret Service in this room for events. So we've done some crazy stuff, and hopefully we'll get a chance to share that with you over time. And then also, I want to make sure that you are aware that I'm going to be putting out a 4-podcast series. You're going to be about 20 minutes each. I've already shot the first 3 of them. The first one will hit next week. So if you see this on my feed on any of the socials, you are going to want to watch. I'm going to break out the table again, but with the audio working on the upper cam. I'm going to break out the table again, and I'm going to give you in the very first video, I'm going to give you what I call the 4-point action loop. The 4-point action loop. If you sign up for the newsletter today, you'll be able to get a PDF of that and an explanation of it in advance. But the 4-point action loop that I'm going to walk you through next week, the video that's coming out, is going to give you a process of hacking your habits, destroying the old habits that you want to get rid of, and embracing new habits. And I'll actually show you how to build and compound habits on top of one another in a mechanism that's worked very, very well for me. This is the way that most mornings, not this morning because I had to get up with the kiddos, take them to school, where I get up at 3:30 every morning. This is the process that I use to move forward through that process. And I'll give you a hint. I'm going to give you a pro tip here. If you're someone that wants to get up early, I'm going to give you 3 rules, 3 hard and fast rules. Number 1, never lay down with your phone within reach. Number 2, put the phone charger in a different room. And if you're like me, you've got to wake up to a fully charged phone. You don't want to wake up to a dead phone. And number 3, whatever that room is, hopefully it's like your closet or your bathroom, put a motion sensor light in there. That's the only thing that's really going to take any work. Put a motion sensor light in there. So I tell you what happens. Here's how it happened to me. I set my alarm for 5, then 4:45 because I had this really successful friend. This friend is great. He's still a really, really close friend. He's got a company bigger than mine. He's better looking than I am. He comes from better gene pool than I. He's better dressed than I. He's smarter than me. And so I got to figure out a way I can compete against this guy. And then he tells me one day he wakes up at 4 o'clock every morning. 4 o'clock? That's pretty crazy early. I thought I was already, succeeding by waking up at 5 or 5:30. I had to figure out a way to outcompete this guy because I knew there were people in my industry that I compete against that are like this friend of mine. They're better looking, they're better resourced, they're smarter, they come from better genes, they got a better network than I do. How do I compete against that? How do I compete against that? Well, I've got to be able to get up earlier. I got to be able to outwork that person. If he's already getting up at 4, I'm only getting up at 5. He has an hour on me, so I have no way of really catching up there. I had to figure out a way to get earlier. So I began to ratchet my time back 15 minutes every week. 5, 4:45, 4:30, 4:15, 4, 3:45, 3:30. 3:15 was a little bit too early, but 3:30 was sort of the sweet spot where I can get up. And the way that I did is this. This is how it worked out for me. I plugged my phone in my closet. So what that prevented was me, when I wake up in the middle of the night, turning over and open my phone and scrolling. This is probably one thing that's really devastating your attention right now. If you sleep with a phone by your bed, your attention is probably just off the charts scattered. And I can say that without knowing you, not even knowing who's on the thing right now. But this is probably where you live right now. You probably live sleep deprived. Your attention is not where it needs to be focused. And you're probably addicted to your screen when you are awake, and you never really sleep a full night. So leave the phone in the other room. So when I plugged the phone in the other room, I had to fight off the desire to get up and go get my phone in the middle of the night when I couldn't fall back to sleep. But I tell you what, after 4 or 5 or 6 nights, that desire went away, and I was able to sleep the entire night without a longing for that blue screen. But also what happened, whenever my alarm went off in the morning, eventually at 3:30, I stood up out of bed. I had to walk through my bathroom into my closet. What happened when I walked in my closet? My light turned on. I had to go, and I don't press snooze. I turn the alarm off. So all of a sudden, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm standing in a fully lit closet. I'm standing up. I'm not going to be able to go back to sleep. And even if I try, it's going to take me an hour or two to go back to sleep. I'm not going to do that. I might as well just throw some clothes on. Let's just throw some clothes on. So I just put some clothes on, and I'm thinking, you know what I'd really like right now? I'd really like a great latte. You see what I'm doing? I'm stacking. The phone charger leads to the phone in the other room. The automatic light turns the light on. The light wakes me up. It triggers me just waking up a little bit more. Turn the alarm off. Put some clothes on. I'm ready for work. I might as well use the time well. So here I am, fully dressed, 60 seconds after I wake up, fully awake in a fully lit room, starting to brush my teeth. I'm wanting a latte. Where do I get the best latte? Starbucks only opens at 5. I've got to go to the office. So I drive 20 minutes to the office. I start making my latte. I'm at the office, fully lit. The lights are already on when I get there. I'm making the latte. Where do I want to drink this latte? I want to drink it in my office on my favorite couch. So then I sit down on my favorite couch, and I only have another rule where I don't touch any screens before 8, ideally. Sometimes it's 7, but sometimes it's 8. Most of the time it's 8. So I have a number of hours there that may be 3 hours, 3.5 hours, where I'm reading. I'm reading with my favorite latte, sitting on my favorite couch. If you want to live a life of advancing, a life of energy, a life that fulfills you, start your morning in quiet, in silence, in meditation and prayer, reading the great books. I'm not a reader. I don't like to read, but I will read because that's what a man should do. A man should do. A man should get up early. A man should get up and get to work early and be the first one there. A man should prepare his mind for the day ahead of him. A man should prepare himself to be able to feed into the others. And this is the way that we get through. And so this 4-point action loop, I'm going to tell you how to layer on different triggers within your routine that will just revolutionize where you are. You'll move from annihilation all the way to metamorphosis with this. So again, that video is coming out next week. So final word. And there's a lot of you guys here still. I really appreciate hanging on. It's 12 o'clock here Central Time. Final word. Is there a single manifest evil that just breaks your heart? Is there one evil that just breaks your heart? Is it the murder of the unborn? Is it the propagation of pornography in a way that does not respect children? Is there a slavery against children that you're seeing around you? Is it a drug? Is it the alcohol that's just destroying your life? Are Are there things that you see around you that are just pure evil? They're not subjectively, but they're objective. Like, you know for a fact that, and everyone knows for a fact that this is an evil. This is an evil. Well, I encourage you to attack it. I encourage you to attack it. That's one thing I want you to come away from today, is figure out that manifest evil that you're going to attack. Figure out that one thing that breaks your heart and write it down. So, guys, I appreciate you guys for joining me. Again, rickwalker.com, RCKWALKER.com. And I'd love to see you over there. Again, I'm going to push out content like this the next several weeks leading up to the book launch. If you want to go watch those 4 purpose series, go at rickwalker.com and sign up for the newsletter. Again, I'll have an automatic email for you. Immediately, we're able to watch those 4 purpose podcast series. You're able to get 10 different tools like this 4-point action loop. I'm also going to give you the 10 urgency accelerators. I'm going to give you the 10 mechanisms, a 7-day plan to find protein, to get 150 grams of protein in your diet just from convenience stores and fast food restaurants. It's really amazing that you can find that. And I'm going to give you so much more from that registration. And I'm looking forward to our time together. Hopefully you've enjoyed this live stream. Can I see there's still 80 of you on, which I'm super pumped up. You just blew my mind. This is really, really great. Hope you had fun. Feel free to let me know if you have any feedback for me. Again, this is my very first time doing an AMA Ask Me Anything. In fact, I don't even know if I've ever seen an AMA done before, so I didn't know what to expect. But I got to pick up the kiddos from school in 28 minutes. So I've got to bounce. Hope you're doing well. Hey, have a blessed rest of the week. I really appreciate you. I thank you. I'm here for you. Let me know how I can be of service to you. Thanks, guys.